Ow. Okay, try to jump to the side, wouldn't let me. It's always easiest to dodge the one-horns. That's fun. It's fun that that's a consistent issue. How about every other time when one of them jumps into the air, they go flying if I hit them once? How about that happens, instead of I instantly die this time? Just this once. Saw a Tumblr post today that was like, it was some clip of Hades from Disney's Hercules, like the funny James Woods Hades. Some quote from him that was pretty funny, and someone was like, wow, why do I relate to Hades so much in this moment? And it was like, yeah, it's funny, because Hades is a funny, enjoyable character to watch. And then someone responded, well, it's because it's easier to relate to a flawed character than one who is just depicted as perfect in every way. And I was... Look, if Disney's Hercules, like the character of Hercules, is too much of a perfect boy for you, I understand that. If he's not your favorite protagonist, I totally get that. Hades is a child murderer. Like, that's his primary motivation. Is he starts off the movie trying to murder a baby. He's not you shouldn't find him relatable aside from he is kind of sassy, and I'm also kind of sassy sometimes. You know who's a flawed character in Hercules that still ends up being a good role model? That's probably a person it's healthy if you kind of relate to them. Meg, who is, like, unsure of her place in the world and who she can trust and whether or not she can allow herself to be vulnerable in front of anyone ever again. And also finds herself getting into worse and worse trouble because she keeps trying to find the easy way out. You know who's another good, flawed character who it's probably healthy to see yourself a little bit in? Phil, who doesn't have any... hope because he's failed so many times, and he finally gives himself one last chance, and it turns out that that's exactly what he needed, and he just needed to have a little bit of faith in the people he was mentoring, and sometimes that's enough to get you through the depression that you found yourself in. You know who you shouldn't actually, on like a thematic, full-on character examination standpoint, relate to? The child murderer. You shouldn't relate to that person. If you're saying it just like, haha, he's sassy, I relate to him being sassy, and I also relate to the fact that he seems very, like, fed up with a lot of shenanigans he has to deal with. That's fine, because that's like a surface level, that's a specific character trait that I find relatable. But this Tumblr post that tried to have a full-on, like, thematic analysis essay that was seriously talking about why people seriously find themselves relating to Hades, you should not unironically look at the full character of Hades and go, man, he's just like me, for real, for real. That's, if you're approaching it from a serious, like, comprehensive basis, there's something wrong with you if you watch Hercules and you're like, yeah, Hades is the one I relate most to. Surface level characteristics? Fine. Yeah, he's a fun character, he's sassy, he's tired. In terms of, like, what kind of as a member of humanity, what speaks to us on a fundamental level, it shouldn't be Hades. It really shouldn't, guys. Some people sometimes. I was holding... There's no proof of this. There will never be proof of this. I was holding the joystick to the side because I saw he was charging, and I thought to myself, if I jump backwards, he will still hit me. So I hope Link doesn't jump backwards, and then Link decided, I'm a head out. Jumping backwards sounds like a good deal to me right now. Finished playing The Quarry with some friends the other day. Did not go well. We did a very bad job, which is saying something because I played a lot of supermassive games. Usually do a decent job on my first playthrough. It's usually not as bad as this one got, but it was real bad. I think we misinterpreted how we were supposed to feel about certain antagonists, and when I don't want to spoil The Quarry too much, just in case, because that's also a pretty recent thing, but sometimes the game is like, hey, having a heart and having some mercy, kind of a good thing, and sometimes it goes, oh, you wanted to have mercy on this sympathetic character? You idiot. You fool. 3 protagonists will now die at once, and the game is over. It did not go well. It was also rough because it was like it was already not going well, but then we were like, okay, of all these characters, our 4 or 5 favorites are all still alive. And then in the span of about 10 minutes, we lost all of them, except for one, who I think actually ended up being our complete favorite. So we were very happy about that. But all the rest of our faves were dead. It was bad. It was not good. I still think Until Dawn is always going to be their magnum opus, because that game is just... It's just very well done. It's just very... I think it accomplishes the... If you play through this smart, you will probably be able to keep these characters alive, whereas with The Quarry and with a lot of the Dark Pictures games, it's a lot of... Actually, with The Quarry specifically, this was one problem I had with it as well. Like, the only way to keep everyone alive is if you make decisions that you would have absolutely no way of knowing would save their life. There's some things, and there's like side quests that are not related to just whether or not they survive, but some of the like side things, you have to deliberately fail QTEs. You know, the QTEs where sometimes if you fail a single one, you die. Like what happened with that one character that we really liked, and they died immediately because we failed one QTE. Yeah, fail some of those, idiot. What were you thinking trying to do those? But yeah, Until Dawn's still great. House of Ashes was legitimately really cool. There was one character death in there that was another thing of like... Actually, that was the exact opposite problem of The Quarry. There was one thing of like, alright, if I was really in this scenario, it would definitely be the smartest decision to do this, even though I don't feel good about it. And then we did that, and it resulted in a character dying, which we kind of expected, but it was like, that's probably best for the group as a whole. And then we find out later of like, no, if you had just gone a different way and done things that in this scenario would probably be considered dumb, you can save everybody. Idiot, what were you thinking? But otherwise, House of Ashes was great. You don't see this in video games very much. We've seen it a good amount in movies, but you don't see it in video games very much because it's so recent of I can really only think of Spec Ops: The Line, and even then, that's like it's not that's a fictional conflict. It just happens to be in the Middle East. House of Ashes is maybe the first video game I've seen that very directly was like, hey, U.S. intervention in the Middle East, a lot of that was bad. It was really dumb and bad of us to do that. That was, like, irresponsible, and did not handle the situation well. And the game does, like, a really good job of examining that and like, examining American patriotism and how a lot of times it is co-opted to give people a sense of purpose, even if that purpose is ultimately not actually a good thing. And the like definitively best, most moral character in the game is a member of the Iraqi Defense Force, and he's the best. He's a fantastic character, and the entire time I was like, all the Americans, if they end up dying, that's okay. Salim needs to live. It is a requirement that Salim lives. And yeah, I don't know. I've especially in games like, especially in supermassive games, which are generally, they don't have like strong moral takes. It's mostly just like, hey, wouldn't it be spooky if these people got attacked by monsters? Having like a weirdly political takeaway from a supermassive game was something I was not expecting, but I was very impressed with. I thought they did a very good job with that. But yes, we have, aside from like their VR game, and actually I've done a couple VR games, I think. Some of them were good and some of them were very bad. I've not played any of them myself, though. Aside from those, I have completed the Supermassive set now. I played all the Dark Pictures, and now I've played through Until Dawn and the Quarry. And hell, we're going to be here for a while. Let's go through a tier list. Until Dawn, number 1. I think House of Ashes is probably next. I was just consistently, even though I saw it get good reviews, I was just consistently impressed with House of Ashes, both on a thematic storytelling point, and I think it's the best iteration of what all those Dark Pictures games are going for, of smaller scale than Until Dawn, but still like learning about a core cast of characters, trying to keep them alive as they encounter this threat. There's not really any dumb twists. There's one that's like, you're kind of gonna love it or hate it, but it doesn't ruin the rest of the plot. It's just like, oh, that's additional information that I don't. You might be like, that makes the threat slightly goofier to me, but it's not gonna ruin it completely. And I quite liked it. I thought it was kind of fun. Whereas the first two Dark Pictures games have such stupid plot twists that invalidate a lot of what has happened, and it's very bad. And it was also, like, pretty dang scary. I think my one, probably, criticism is a lot of the... Because you are, I guess, slight spoilers for House of Ashes? Just in terms of, like, what things look like. You're in just caves for a lot of that game, and a lot of the levels look very similar just because you are exploring a very similar environment the entire time, whereas the other Dark Pictures games were able to vary up a little bit more. Although you're on a boat for almost all of Man of Medan, and that was kind of boring too. I don't know. But yeah, House of Ashes is really good. I think after House of Ashes would probably still be The Quarry. I have a lot of qualms with The Quarry. But I think on the whole, it was, even though it's not as good as Until Dawn, it's still like, I still was playing it and I was like, all right, yeah, this is a worthy successor to Until Dawn. This is, you know, about the same scale, and they're accomplishing all the interweaving storylines really well. They're, much like in Until Dawn, starting off with a cast of teenagers who you're kind of annoyed with and you hate, and by the end of the game, you're like, almost all these characters have grown on me. I really want all of them to live. Which is exactly what Until Dawn did. And I think, in that respect, I almost feel like Corey did that a little bit better, which made me even more upset when a bunch of them died for reasons that I thought were dumb. But yeah, I think they there was a lot, you know, some of the dialogue's always going to be a little clunky in a game that big, but for the most part, I thought they did a very good job of selling me on, like, yeah, they're dumb teenagers, but they're not dumb teenagers in the way that, like, a bunch of 80s movies teenagers are dumb. They are dumb in the way that actual real-life teenagers are dumb, and I really liked that. I think that is a very difficult thing to write correctly, and I think they did a really good job with it in Quarry. So even though I have my qualms, I did still, on the whole, enjoy Quarry quite a bit. After that is probably a hot take, because apparently it got quite bad reviews. I quite liked Devil in Me. A lot of people did not like that one, and I thought it was pretty fun. I thought they got more inventive with the gameplay. In some segments, more than they needed to, but in other segments, like, the whole cast is a film crew, and they all have different things. So, like, the audio engineer has, like, a Zoom recorder, and she can, like, hear sounds with it, and that mechanic was very underutilized, but the fact that it was in there at all was like, oh, that's a really cool idea. The camera guy has a tripod that he can extend to reach things that other characters couldn't. I would never have expected a supermassive game for a supermassive game to have, like, every character has their own superpower, but they unironically, I think, did a really good job of pulling that off in Devil in Me. I thought that was a lot of fun to mix things up a little bit. It was it wasn't their scariest game, and there were aspects of it of, like, the characters, when there's a bunch of them in one place, it's like they could take on the threat. They could. If they teamed up, they could just take on the threat right now, but they don't. They just run away because the cutscene demands that they run away. There were parts of that were a little bit annoying. But on the whole, I thought Devil in Me was a lot of fun. I actually really liked it. The last... Wow. I guess sometimes the charge is just undodgeable no matter what. So that's always fun. The last two are tough. I think Man of Medan is next. Which was just... The fact that came out right after Until Dawn was, I think, maybe its biggest weakness, because everyone had very high expectations. Then we played it and was like, that was not great. That was kind of dumb. Especially the plot twist at the end, but a lot of it was just very dumb. And the characters were full adults, but they were acting like the teenagers from Until Dawn, so them being stupid was really annoying. Yeah. Didn't love Man of Medan. And then, yeah, I remember Little Hope got bad reviews, and everyone was saying, yeah, it's worse than Man of Medan, and I was playing through it, we were playing through it with a friend, and the entire time, both of us were like, this is way more interesting than Man of Medan. Whatever's happening here, like the supernatural aspect of Little Hope, there's a lot of really neat stuff going on. It's really wacky and weird, but it's very interesting. The monster designs are fucking awesome. Every member of the cast basically has their own separate spirit that is haunting and tormenting them, and the design of all of them is awesome and very scary. Then the twist of Little Hope happens, and you go, oh, yeah, that makes this entire game worse than Man of Medan. Because even more than in Man of Medan, every single thing that just happened has been invalidated, and none of it matters. It's an even worse version of the Man of Medan twist. And it's so dumb. It's so dumb. It's so dumb I blocked out the details of, like, exactly what it was. But I remember enough to know that it was dumb. So I think Little Hope is right at the bottom. And I think it was the disappointment after the potential. It was that Little Hope was considerably better than Man of Medan for a while, and then very quickly it just skydives, the quality just skydives off of the cliff because the plot gets very dumb very quickly. I should stop talking about supermassive games because the past couple tries have been quite bad. God damn it. God damn it. Did you see that, like, the slash connected to the ground and then there was like a half second before the damage register? That makes it even worse. I read the news today, oh boy, about a lucky man who made the grade. Bet it is. Okay. Well, that was kind of fun. We got him all the way down to like 2/3. That was enjoyable just to let some rage out. Oh, also, speaking of being immediately wrong after recording, literally the day after my last recording, they finally announced the final date of Attack on Titan, which I still, just like New Mutants, I won't believe it until I see it, and I probably won't believe it even after I see it. But purportedly, we do actually now have a date. But hey, it wouldn't be the first time I said to myself, well, it looks like we have a date, and then it turned out that that didn't happen. Okay. That was a reference to my middle school days. I asked a girl out to a movie, and she said yes. And then I was like, do you want to see this movie? And she said yes. And then, in fairness, I was too nervous to, like, follow up much further. So I kind of was like, cool, let's go see it soon. And I'm aware the fault lies about 80% on me, because I just kind of left it at that. But we just never talked about it again. I never offered a date, and she never followed up and was like, hey, are we going on that date or not? I just cowered it out and said nothing, and she also said nothing. Which again, 80%. I know that's 80% me. But I do think there's a 20% of, like, if she was legitimately excited for the date, you'd think she would have followed up once and been like, hey, is this actually happening? And she did not. So, it wasn't meant to be. And that was the closest I came to a date for about 5 years. you not shoot arrows at me right now? I'm not feeling it. That one was just for fun. That round was just for fun. I wasn't actually trying. I should probably start trying, though. It's a crime that there's a video game company called Supermassive and a video game company called Supergiant. They should fight to determine which of them gets to be Super, and then the other one just has to change their name to Massive or Giant. Because I keep talking about games, and I always get those two confused, and they both make good games. I've enjoyed the Supermassive games quite a bit. But they make very different games, and it feels unfair to talk about to ascribe one of their works to the other and be like, yeah, I was playing this really good Supermassive game, and I meant to say Supergiant, and vice versa. Both of them, let's be honest, both of them feel like it's besmirching Supergiant, even though I do quite like Supermassive's games. There's clearly a winner there. If it were to marry, there would be one that I very specifically am thinking good for them in comparison to the other. And another thing. There should not be a Square and a Square Enix. Those two should also have to fight over who gets to be the Square. And I feel like it should probably default to Square, and the other one can just be Enix. It's okay, guys. We know who you are. You're famous. You can just be Enix. Don't make me hear someone talk about a Square game and have to wonder, okay, do they mean Square or do they mean Square Enix? Because those are two separate companies. And someone might just be saying Square because they don't want to have to say Square Enix, but also they might be saying Square. I don't know. Oh, he's got a shield. I didn't see he had a shield. I wouldn't have done that and doled my sword if I knew he had a shield. Also, I can't remember if I talked about this when I went on my weird Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Bloodborne thing. What kind of a name is From Software? That's not the name of a thing. You can't just call yourself, like, in studio. It can't just be in. You're not allowed to just call yourself in. You can't just be a preposition. That's not enough. That's not enough words. You need more than that. Come on. That one, like, I know I walked back a few of my Soulsborne comments because I was like, as an MCU fan, I shouldn't judge people for finding enjoyment in experiencing a similar but slightly different game many times in a row. But I'm not backing down. From Software is a dumb name for a company. That's a dumb company name. That's a hill I'll die on, and I probably will. Okay, Archer is still shooting for me. He's not backing down now, so I do need to take care of him. Otherwise, it's going to be a problem. Okay, who won it? Just do this perfectly with no mistakes. Did that break? I can't tell if it broke. Nope, I still got it. Not for long, but I got it. Yeah, I know. I'm not wasting on you. I wasted it on Two-Horn, that's fine. Okay. My foot's falling asleep, so let me adjust. Alright. Probably big boy blade is gonna be best. Although, I keep forgetting, one good dodge with this actually almost completely takes care of a three-horn, if not completely. I'm forgetting the math, but... let's do the math right now, because this guy's at full health. Come on, man. Do you really have to do that to me? I couldn't see that. Every time I feel like I'm getting close, they find some way to rip it away from me. It's like we're celebrating new levels of mediocrity. Oh boy, sure heard that guy winding up for a second swing won't hit me. Okay, he almost did. I would have been very upset, but he did not, so I guess I'm okay. Nope. Please don't throw rocks at me. In slightly good news, I'm starting to read Big Boy's moves at least a little bit better than I had before. I don't think I'll be able to reliably... I fucking can't. If I'm slightly strafing while someone is dodging, there is literally no direction I'm allowed to jump to get out of the way of it. That's fine. Oh, I did game over from that. Wow. Doesn't it usually do half a heart? That's legit. I thought it was only half a heart. Guess it's a full heart. Okay. I think that's the first time that's happened, that I've actually game overed because of falling down that pit.